Hello everyone, welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. Today's video, there's no way to play any of these clips I'm gonna play for you fluffy. There's no way for me to play them nicely. So what I'm fixing to show you, I do not recommend young children or sensitive people to be in the vicinity of my voice. I simply do not. I advise you to turn this video off and go find something fluffy. Because what Sam's fixing to show you is what is happening in our country. And it is so disturbing that when I had linked most of these videos together last night, they got an age restriction and they basically banned it from YouTube. Yet I got all the clips from YouTube. Go figure. What we're going to be talking about, folks, we are going to cover sextortion. I know, right? Of children from TikTok, as well as Snapchat. We're going to discuss how the influx of male illegal aliens is affecting our young women and our children through kidnapping, rape, murder. It doesn't get prettier than that. We're just going to talk about how the world seems to be focused on how Louisiana is putting the 10 Commandments back in school and how that makes us such a bad state. So many things we should be concerned about. Why put the 10 Commandments back, right? So we're going to jump into that. I hope you hang in here with us. My name is Samantha. I own a 2-acre farmstead located in Southeast Louisiana. And folks, I'm just about getting the truth out there. We're going to start with this clip
in Louisiana should be focused on right now.
MSNBC,
given that for the second consecutive year, U.S. News and World Report ranked
about how
it
Governor
dead last
Landry
in its best
of
states
Louisiana
report. It's no wonder
is
why
focused
there's
on
a
putting the
rampant
10
industrial
Commandments
pollution
back in
caused by its
schools.
oil and gas industry, the 85-mile
Why?
corridor between
Because,
New Orleans and Baton
Louisiana
Rouge,
was
now
a
known
slave
as the
state, right?
Cancer
I mean, she
Alley,
literally
where
brings that up
a
in this.
recent
Just
study
listen.
found that the air is more toxic than previously thought. Unsurprisingly, as NBC News noted, that industrial corridor was once home to slave plantations before scores of petrochemical companies moved in, polluting the air that fills the lungs of the mostly black residents. Another factor could be the state's crushing poverty. Louisiana has the second highest poverty rate nationwide and the third lowest median income of any state, ahead of only West Virginia and Mississippi. There's also Louisiana's long history of over-incarceration to fuel its use of forced labor. As of 2022, Louisiana had the second highest incarceration rate in the country, behind again Mississippi. Louisiana had been starting to turn around some of its dismal statistics under its previous Democratic governor, John Bel Edwards. In his 2 terms in office, he expanded Medicaid under Obamacare and launched a criminal justice overhaul that successfully...
What she doesn't tell anybody is that John Bel Edwards had multiple chances to renegotiate that chemical corridor, Cancer Alley, which I've done previous videos on. Please go back and review those. And he didn't. In fact, Louisiana barely makes any money off of all the oil being drilled off the Gulf Coast right there in the Gulf of Mexico, off of our coast. That's destroying our state. We get almost no money. He has done a terrible job with that. He never renegotiated any of those contracts or terms. All he did was increase welfare benefits in the state rather than helping people get off benefits. Folks, listen. Your goal, if you're in poverty, should not be an increase in benefits. Your goal, if you're in poverty, should be, how do I get out? How do I get a better job? How do I multiply what's already in my hands so I'm not dependent on the government? That ought to be your goal. And that's really hard for a lot of people. I went from recipient of food stamps to a food stamp retailer. 2 years. Y'all don't think I didn't work? I worked harder in my life during that period than I have ever. I worked harder than when I went to get 10 years of a master's degree in education, folks. I worked like a man. I worked 11, 12, 13-hour days to see myself come out of poverty. So if Samantha can do it, no excuse, folks. Why does the governor want the 10 Commandments back in schools? Because, guys, how can you tell people what is right and wrong with no starting point? You see, The Ten Commandments give us an idea of what we should be allowing. Honor thy mother and father. Do not murder. Do not steal. Don't bear false witness. Don't lie. There's nothing wrong with the Ten Commandments.
Bark is. To Tanya, Snapchat. A lot of parents think if you go on to your child's scrolling history, their internet use, then you know what they've been doing. That is not true. All of this.
Let's start with this little boy.
Just very briefly.
Now, this is going to be like a 4-minute clip, so you're just going to have to listen through it with me. But guys, this is heartbreaking. This child killed
himself. Is
himself.
An app that was launched to send disappearing photos. And children do not need the ability to send disappearing photos. It has now expanded to offer location sharing, which is problematic. It's become rife with drug dealers and now sextortion scams.
Guys,
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids have phones.
What is it?
With no parental supervision. What's going on? Younger generation, what are you doing with your children? Now, if you don't know, listen what Snapchat actually is and how it can affect your kids.
When did you find out about this horrible sextortion scheme against Timothy on Snapchat?
So I found out Timothy passed away on April 6th, and I found out from the captain of investigations here in Sumter on October 4th.
Joining me now is Ashley Jones, investigative reporter and anchor, WIS News, South Carolina. Ashley, thank you for being with us. I want to go back to the day that Timothy was killed. Tell me what you know.
From what I know, as far as what Sumter PD said in an incident report, on the morning of April 6th, Timothy's father found his body laying outside in the front yard. And from there, they called the Sumter Police Department, who came out and began an investigation. However, there was some, I believe, discrepancies as far as Sumter Police Department actually doing the investigation. There was something about they couldn't get into Timothy's phone to figure out what may have happened. There was a lot of back and forth between
Ashley, you know, it's amazing that you said that because you guys have already lived through this in South Carolina with the Alex Murdaugh trial. Remember what all we had to go through? They had to bring in the Secret Service to unlock a phone in order to place Alex Murdaugh at the dog kennels where his wife and son were murdered at the time of the murder. Remember that? I sat through that Secret Service guy testimony, and it was very, very intricate about unlocking the phone. Okay, so what is Timothy looking at for 2 hours and then commit suicide in the front yard? Listen.
Just before his death, Timothy changed the passcode to his phone, so detectives focus on the task of unlocking it. Betsy Hauptman tells Detective Kelsey Wade that Timothy mainly communicated over Snapchat, and Wade issues a subpoena for the teen's account. 11 weeks go by with no answers, despite Hauptman calling twice a week. Wade finally informs Hauptman investigators are submitting a second Snapchat subpoena, along with a subpoena for Timothy's Cash App activity.
So there you have it. Timothy had Cash App, he had his own phone, he had Snapchat. He changed the code before he killed himself. They don't know what's going on, but they are almost positive this child's pictures were being used against him. Folks, it is your responsibility as a parent, a grandparent, or a caregiver to monitor your children and these devices. If you don't, you may wake up one morning to your child dead in the yard, and you will never quit bearing that guilt because you didn't protect the most vulnerable thing in your home. That's your child. You are not your child's friend. You are their parent. Act like it. Now, I know all of you are hearing these horrendous stories of little girls being sexually abused in Ubers. Well, I mean, she was a young woman. Doesn't matter though. Being raped by an Uber driver. Then you've got the 5 guys up north that kidnapped the little girl and were on their way to California, and her dad tracked her phone. 5 illegal immigrants. Then you got this 12-year-old that was raped by a 24-year-old and like a 25-year-old illegal immigrant in Texas 2 days ago. You got the little girl and boy that were 13 tied up, and the little girl was raped in broad daylight in New York City by an illegal immigrant. We have enough crime and inhumane behavior in America without the influx of grown men thinking it is okay to rape our children, to sexually abuse our children. Folks, the way you're raised, you become a product of it. In these third world countries that these people are coming from, they rape women all the time. This is what I don't understand. If you are someone that is all about women's rights, then you ought to be against illegal immigration, because it's going to come to a point where women can't go out in public, little girls can't go out in public without a male walking us. Like, we live in a third world country because American men won't stand up and demand that these illegals go home. Women, that's on you too. You've given up our spaces and our safe spaces, our bathrooms, our changing rooms, our gyms. Now we've got men in those. And I don't know about you, but I've had enough. I cannot wait for Trump to get back in office and just send them all home, because they're not going to change. And now we have to pay more taxpayer dollars while they do a couple years in prison, get out and repeat. That may one day be your child, your grandchild, or your little girl. We had better start protecting our children, because we all know Satan comes to what? Kill, steal, and destroy, and he's having a field day with American children. God bless you. I know this topic isn't comfortable, but my people perish for what? Lack of knowledge, and you won't do it on my watch. Like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to support our channel. We were demonetized for speaking truth. Love you guys. See you in a little bit.